And get the meeting started when you're done.
I just wanted to.
Everybody please rise and join me in the pledge, please.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've got quite a bit going on this morning. I'd like to welcome everybody here. I'd like to introduce a presentation by Harry Vac, contacted me about a month ago. And Larry Teese is here this morning. Do you want to go around the room and introduce the board?
Andy Patrick, Dan Brunner,
John Chedick,
Phil Ludington.
Derek Lorenzo.
And I'm Jeff Floyd. So we're happy to have you here and have at it.
Well, I'm not going to take a whole lot of your time up. I know you guys are pretty busy today. Essentially, the reason why I'm here today is just to introduce myself and my company. Harry-Vac's been in this area for a little over 17 years, but we've actually increased the number of bases here in the last, well, since May. We've put in a new base over at Mattoon and another new base over at Olney to enhance the area we're covering. Harry-Vac is the largest membership-based program in the United States. We currently have 152 bases nationwide and a little over 4 million members. We run critical care transports, and our main mission is to put bases in the rural communities because that's essentially where a helicopter is going to be most useful, because it's going to be taking the patient from that rural area and taking them directly to a level 1 trauma center, which typically are based in bigger cities. Okay, so our goal is to provide access for critically ill, critically injured patients. We value safety more than anything. We want to make sure that our helicopters are safe, our crews are safe, and we do a good, safe transport for the patients. The membership program is growing exponentially. It grows daily. We are a part of AMGH, which is Air Medical Group Holdings, and that is one of 5 other air medical services. We also have fixed wing, so we can fly long distances, and we have 2 fixed wing and air evac, and we have 2 other companies that run strictly fixed wing. So if you need to go from here to California or to Mayo Clinic or someplace, a long transport, it's not practical for a helicopter, we can do it by either jet or fixed wing, either or. Another advantage to that is in inclement weather, fixed wings are set up for IFR or instrument flight rated, so they can fly in poor visibility conditions where helicopters typically can't. So we can come in, pick the patient up, go to the next airport closest to the hospital where an ambulance would pick them up and take them to the hospital. To give you an idea of our new bases and how it affects you here, the Mattoon base is about 15 minutes flight time from there to here, as Brazil is also about 15 to 17 minutes flight time. So Paris is kind of like right in the middle. It doesn't take us very long. Our goal is to work well with the hospital and your local EMS, and our intention is to continue to build those relationships and work with the community. That's what we're all about. We try to become invested in the community as much as possible, do outreach, education, and help out as any way we can. Do you have any questions of me? Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you have the membership, which we have, and a helicopter comes in and picks you up at the hospital that's not airback,
Right.
does the airback membership still pay for that helicopter?
No.
Okay. So how do you tell the hospital you want airback and not one out Indianapolis or one out Champaign or something like that?
You had tattooed on your forehead.
Yeah, I know.
Most of the members carry a card in their,
I have a card.
in their billfold, or you can go to the hospital and have it put in your medical records, because they'll pull your medical records up when you go to the hospital. So they'll look up your, you know, what medications you have, what, you know, operations you've had in the past. So it'll be part of your medical records.
What's the, what would be the cost for a helicopter if you didn't have a membership? 8,000, 10,000?
Well, actually, let me explain this, how it works.
I just said, I
That would be interesting.
The cost of membership actually changes every week. It goes up and down about $2,000 depending on insurance costs, fuel costs, equipment, everything else that is involved in that. So the average cost is typically around $45,000 to $50,000. That's
You better be good and sick.
that's the average cost.
I think I'll just stay at the hospital. I work at the ER for 25 years on lab tech, so I see, they do a great job, don't get me wrong, but I see a lot of transfers. And Jesse used to work on, he's under, yeah, he dealt with it too, so.
Yeah, quote that.
Yeah.
Did you have a question, Phil?
I
That's a
didn't
lot
realize
of
it was $45,000.
45,000 bucks.
For one trip?
Now,
I'm having a hard time finding words, which is not,
I know, I understand.
it is,
Yeah.
45,000, sorry.
Yeah, now the actual cost is so high, a lot of it has to do with non-payers. So,
So how do I alleviate that situation?
Get a membership.
What does a membership cost?
$45, $55 a year.
it's
65.
65 a year.
That's all?
5 years, yeah.
Well, how do I get that? Just sign me up.
Sign him up.
Yeah, you can go online, it's lifeteam.net. Get for membership.
You also get something in the mail.
Yeah,
If
there's
you're a member, you
mailers.
get a renewal in the mail, which I think is good.
So it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
We're actually looking right now at,
65 sure looks a heck of a lot better than 45,000,
yeah, it is.
I have a question though, when they're looking up,
doesn't it?
Are you a plant? Do they pay you to be here and react
No,
like
but
that?
well, some of us have paid a lot of medical
Hey, Jeff
expenses
has a
lately.
question.
Boo?
all right, no hurry. I understand what you're saying about your medical records,
Mhm.
but when the call is made, there's an accident, I'm in bad shape. You were there,
That's all right. I'm just frustrated.
and the officer at the scene calls down to dispatch. They
Right?
don't have your medical
No, they don't.
records.
No, they don't.
And even the ambulance service, possibly when they're out there.
Yeah, it's a membership, it's not an insurance, and that's where the difference is. There's no way even an ambulance could guarantee that they're gonna be the ones to pick you up.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty big error to make in somebody's financial future.
I understand.
Then there has to be a way to alleviate that problem. How do we do that?
You can't.
Can't,
Well,
because we've got what, one other,
Just
is there one
terminate
other
your own.
service here?
As far as air medical's concerned?
Yeah.
Well, in the area, there are Lifeline, there's Air Life out of Carl, and then of course Aerovac, so there are 3 in the general vicinity, or, excuse me, 4.
Well, who decides
One
who
out of
comes and gets you?
Indianapolis. Indianapolis has
Well,
one too, right?
typically EMS does, it depends on the area, but usually it's the medical and seeing the high level of care of medical that arrives on
So
scene.
if EMS people is coming to get you, if they know that you only want air back, they can take care of that.
They wouldn't know
But
They would
if
if I
you're,
tell them.
They're
if
not
you're in that
available.
bad a shape,
that.
Right, depends on what.
A lot of people, there's window stickers that people put on their cars,
We have one.
and there's also, you can make a request through the 911 PSAPs, but that depends on who's working at the time, if it's gonna get transmitted or not, so,
that's an issue.
yeah.
That is an issue.
Go
I
ahead.
guess if I could interject on that
Please.
topic.
Yes, please do.
Generally speaking, if you have a critical accident, multiple injuries, it's kind of a triage situation where we have to make a discretionary call as a paramedic in charge of a particular scene, the critical nature of the injury or illness, and secondly, flight time. So when you're talking about bases in Brazil and Mattoon, and when we take in the totality of the circumstances, if I know if I put in a request for Aerovac and to get an ETA of their arrival, they tell me 15 minutes versus a 25-minute response from Lifeline or another alternate service, every time I'm going to select the service that can get to me quicker because it's a choice of life or limb at that point essentially. So understanding that cost may be an issue if somebody would prefer a particular aeromedical service versus another, then we'll try to honor that request. But if it comes down to an issue of time and the possibility of us losing a life, then
But you don't know that anyway. I mean, you know it's an emergency, but you don't know which one they want, do you?
we can ask them certainly if they're
What if
conscious.
they're unconscious?
Then we have to make a discretionary call based on the
That's
critical.
where the problem is.
Same thing as a doctor.
I can tell you this,
Or pay $45,000.
That's a good question. It's my wife.
Yeah, there would be no way of knowing unless, you
Throw it in the trunk.
Yeah.
I'll pay the 45 for my dog, my wife, she's on her own, brother.
Notice I didn't have anything to do with that statement.
Sorry, I asked a question.
No, no.
Hey, no, it's a, it asks,
I was
question
gonna
gets
ask it.
asked all the time.
Okay.
It truly does.
You're the closest one,
That's why we put,
Depending on where in the county.
as long as they're not already out on a call. or-
correct, yeah, that depends. We'll contact, 911 dispatch will contact Aerovac's central dispatch center. They will relay to us the closest base and their availability. So if Aerovac 39, which would be Brazil, is out, then that may divert to, I believe, is it Aerovac 45 now? And that's him, 145.
145.
And then, of course, at that point, it would divert to Effingham if they were unavailable. So there's multiple bases that Aerovac could supply to us. However, at the same token, if, possibly a Lifeline on a Terre Haute helicopter that could be there closer, we may elect that route. But to your question, there's no way of knowing if someone is unconscious unless there was a card or that we could,
Quite
select a
frankly, you're not
particular.
gonna be going through their wallet.
It's not gonna be my primary
I mean,
concern,
I don't want you to go
frankly.
through, well, I want you to take care of me.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah, that's
Right.
not gonna be the
That's
primary concern, never
I mean,
is.
$45,000
The
a
whole
lot, but
purpose
it's
of air
life.
transport is to get you there
Of course,
quick.
insurance pay a lot of it.
Because that first hour is the
Does your
critical hour to
insurance
get
pay for
into
that?
the emergency
Or how
room,
much?
or get into the operating room rather and get that surgery done. So
I know our insurance is
whatever the
good.
problem is, either
Okay.
internal bleeding or head injury.
What?
Any other
But
questions?
Medicare and your supplement take care of a lot of that?
No.
Oh, good.
Medicare takes care of about $1,400 of
Oh,
that.
oh, Jesus, those are 255, Social Security.
But believe it or not, Illinois pays better on Medicare for air medical than most states do. So, yeah. Which
So
is
how do you
unusual.
get this online? What was the,
It's an extra $50 if you
what was
ask
the,
for
you
the.
said get online, what did you say, the
The lifeteam.net.
lifeteam.net?
Yep. The reason why we're putting in more bases is obviously to help cover the membership area better and to supplement if one of the bases out on a call, we got another base close by to cover it. We used to have about a 70-mile radius service area. Now it's down to 35 mile, is typically how we're putting our bases in. So there will be more bases going up, probably north of here and probably east of here in the future. So the service area is gonna get more saturated with aeromedical. Just to kind of help you guys out better.
Appreciate it.
We're also married up with AMR now as ground transport. So the ground transport part of this, it won't be over here, but it'll be over at Sarah Bush area. They're looking at trying to integrate the ground transport and the air as part of the membership. So if you need to go by ground, it'll cover it as well as the air. That hasn't happened yet. They're still trying to work the details on that.
We'll keep us posted on that.
I will.
So the two separate entities at this point,
As far as membership goes,
as
yes.
far as membership, I guess.
As far as the company, we're actually doing dual training. Our internal education is starting to come together. Our external, or continued ed outside is also working together on that. As far as equipment and stuff, we're starting to pool together on getting advanced cardiac monitors, that sort of thing, so we can purchase at a lower rate because you have a larger amount of them. So that's kind of how that's working. But I flew for 9 years. Got a little over 1,500 flights, patient flights under my belt, and then went into management. Kind of kicked myself in the butt for that one, but been doing this for a total of 17 years. The good thing about AreaVac, and I can say this with confidence, from the time I started until now, it's patient oriented. It's not oriented solely on profit or solely on growth. It's oriented on taking care of the patient as best they can. And if I didn't truly believe that and feel passionate about it, I wouldn't be here. Because that's
And I think Jesse
where I'm at.
vouch for the AreaVac on how well they do.
So very, very prompt response, always very professional, and excellent at what they do,
And all of them are
frankly.
well qualified when they come in to transfer the patient, so.
Yeah, I know, somebody asked me a question about membership earlier. Does other air services honor ours? No, they do not. They can't. It's illegal to do that.
Yeah, I felt like that was.
That's not what's in your literature.
Pardon me?
I don't, when I signed up a couple of years ago, your literature made it read as if you have mutual aid agreements.
Yeah.
So that
We do have a
Right.
mutual aid agreement, but the mutual aid agreement does not allow us to, for other air services to use our membership. Okay, so the membership's not gonna be covered by other services. It won't be at all.
So what is, I mean, what is the specifics of this agreement? Like, how does that work? That's obviously a sticking point. Like what?
Oh, it's just
give
like
us
the
an
same
example.
agreement that a ground service would have for, if they're overwhelmed with, you know, with calls, then we're gonna call another company to come in and help. Because we're gonna make sure, like I said earlier, we're gonna make sure the patient's taken care of ultimately.
So basically saying that you can call someone else to cover for you.
Right.
Once you do that, they would be, the patient would be on the hook for those costs.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. But that's the only time we would do that is if we absolutely do not have an aircraft that can make it there.
Well, I assume generally it would be the paramedic on scene that would be making that call anyway.
They-
Right? Our
they do.
911 or dispatch would be making those calls and, hey, we're not available, got it. On to the
Yeah,
next, right?
and now occasionally a 911 service will say, hey, if you're not available, can you call us another service? And if we have one available that's close, we're gonna send it. Otherwise, we may call our competition and say, hey, do you have an aircraft available to cover this patient? Because we wanna make sure that you get to the hospital as fast as you can, so you're taken care of. So that's how that works. But it doesn't cover the membership.
I'll go back and look at it, because the way I read it, they gave an example, if you're traveling out of the area, if you go on vacation somewhere and you need it, then it does cover it.
Any of our aircraft out in the United States, any of all of AMGH does cover it, yes. But any non-AMGH company, like Air Methods, it's not AMGH, it will not cover it. But yes, you're correct. If you're traveling to Florida or California or anywhere except Vermont, don't go to Vermont because we don't have any bases there. But anywhere else, we have bases that, yes, your membership will cover it. Yep. So, and it's not just here. If you buy a membership here, it's gonna be good here and all everywhere else, but not for other companies. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be illegal for us and for them if we honored theirs. Same.
Maybe the law ought to be changed.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, to make it.
If there were a way to do it, I would think it'd be a great idea, but I don't know how.
Yeah, I think those are two opposing models. It'd be hard to dovetail them.
We certainly wouldn't want to help anybody that's patient.
Yeah. So the recovery on actual flight cost is about 60% of the patients we fly. The rest of them are either non-pay or Medicare, Medicaid. So there's a lot of, that's why the cost is so high. The same way with hospital costs. They're just trying, so they can stay afloat. They're getting just enough so they can keep everything paid for.
So what you're saying on Medicare and Medicaid, they pay X amount, and that's it. So then the patient's not, if they're on Medicaid aid, what is it, 1,400, did you say?
I believe that's right, yeah.
So then you guys are out whatever the rest of the cost is.
If they don't have anything else, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much correct.
Any other questions? I'd like to thank you for coming.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank
Absolutely. If, I was actually prepared to set up a little video and stuff for you today, but I understand you guys are kind of running a little bit behind. So that's okay. I mean, if you ever want me over here again, or my boss, Farron Ice, he's the regional director. He's over Missouri, Indiana, Iowa, and Illinois. He's kind of same as me. He's been with the company 19 years and flown. We've all started at the bottom and worked our way kind of up as we go. But we'd be more than happy to come back and do whatever you want.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
you.
Sure.
Thanks. Sure. Well, since we're on services, did you gentlemen have anything that you wanted to talk to us about this morning?
We don't in particular. We have intent to, if you guys would like to hear the presentation, probably for the October 22nd study session. The intent of that is simply going to be a general overview of the hospital VMS service capabilities that we can provide. And yeah, like I said, it's a general overview of our service. If you guys have any questions in particular of us right now, I'd be happy to answer them. However, we do have intent to kind of put a little something together for the 22nd study
Mr.
session.
Clerk, would you put that on
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And we appreciate the lead.
You bet.
Okay. All right. Do you guys have any questions in Verizon at this point? Smart Watt, Andy.
Just want to know where we are. Taking Ori's place today.
I am, yeah, he'd like to be here, but he just got married last weekend, so he's
Jeez, man, a good man bites the
Yeah.
dust.
That's right, yeah, he
That's
hasn't,
why he was smart.
yeah, he hasn't got back in the swing of things yet, so he asked me to come down here and just, answer any questions that you guys had, so right now you're in the RFP stage, request for proposals, you've gotten, I think some responses, obviously from us. And the next phase to go into is to go into investment grade audit, which is basically that's when you select a contractor and we start firming up costs and generating the guaranteed savings numbers and things like that. So, is there any?
So we are going with Smart Watch.
Good way I made the decision.
And I put it on the agenda because I wasn't sure
I saw it
where.
on the agenda, that's the reason why I was
Well,
asking.
it can always, it's on the table right now.
Okay.
I have a,
Sorry. Oh, no, you're
I
fine.
have a question for you. Just, there was quite a bit of discrepancy between Smart Watt and Honeywell's ideas about what the potential for solar power and how that would affect our proposals. Any updates from you guys on what you had or sticking to basically what was the original proposal?
Yeah, our original proposal, we're confident in those, in what the solar opportunity is. We actually just attended, about 2 weeks ago, we attended the Illinois Association of County Board Members Conference on solar energy. And they, had presentations from a number of different people there, but one of them was from the Illinois Power Authority. They talked about the timing of that Solar for All program, which is really what the local government is able to take advantage of is the Solar for All program. And so the timing for that is it's likely that in February there's a project. So
Are you saying solar for all? Is that what it's called?
Solar for All, yeah, is a portion of there's two portions of the solar renewable energy credit program that are coming to Illinois, and that's the portion that is applicable to government entities.
That's sun energy from TOFO. That's what that is. With that, do they have any specifics on what the program would actually look like once it's implemented, or is it still kind of up in the air as far as how they would actually, use that towards solar power in these communities?
A lot of that is still up in the air. They shed a little bit of light on that. There's basically, there would be a lottery system, which is what's happening with the non-public portion of the program. The private portion that's actually is about 2 months ahead of that. So
sorry to interrupt. The community solar, which is the other leg that's actually currently active, that's also based on a lottery system Right.
Yeah, all that stuff, there's a significant amount of applications that are going into that, so.
Expectation that the solar for all would have a similar influx of applications.
We don't know yet, we don't know exactly how much like that program is gonna get. A lot of the stuff that's coming in for the current program is for large solar farms, for 2 megawatt solar farms, which are very, that's why you're probably, I don't know if you guys are getting
Yeah.
permit requests for that or anything like that at the county board level, but, that's, a lot of the other county board members seem to be getting that, so. But that's, yeah, so that's a separate, separate program from the Solar for All program. They think that the structure will be the same, but there's, some of that they're still kind of, waiting to announce. So, but we're still, confident in that, and the counties that we're working with, that, we're looking at both solar and other energy efficiency things. One of the things that we've done is kind of make sure that the energy efficiency portion stands on its own, so that, if something doesn't come to fruition on the Solar for All program, that there's still an opportunity to make the energy efficiency updates if you want to.
Right.
So.
And Barry was talking last time he was here about a timetable, just kind of potentially being under the gun as far as a decision in order to get things moving, in order to get certain wickets or certain benefits from the state of Illinois. Does that still exist? Are we past that window? What's that look like?
Yeah, there is still definitely a timetable. So basically when that, as soon as they start evaluating contractors for that Solar for All program, which right now is in February, that's gonna start. The projects need to be queued up and ready to go. So the projects that are kind of still in evaluation phase and aren't really being strongly considered, by the people who really wanna put them in the ground, are likely not to get funded just because of that. So they kind of want stuff that's ready to go. That they know it's gonna go ahead, because especially if you're dealing with a lottery system, you don't want to select the projects that end up not going forward.
Right.
It doesn't do anybody any good.
So you're saying that when they choose is like February?
It's going to be when they actually choose the individual projects that are going to get selected. It's probably going to be in the March, April time.
But they have to be submitted by February.
The contractors that are in the program have to be approved by February, and then you want to have the projects ready by that point. So yeah. So
What was the other thing? There was more verbiage. The thing that was happening this fiscal year was a different. Do you remember what it was called?
No, I guess, no.
I thought there was something else outside of the Solar for All, some other solar credit program that had to do with basically discounts on the equipment itself. That basically was going to happen. That was going to fall out by the end of this year. Basically.
yeah, Ameren has some discounts on the equipment itself, but the solar without the SREX, the solar is that's what's paying for a lot of solar. So
What was the word you used? I'm sorry.
I think Ameren has some.
No, you said SRX or something?
SREX, yeah, it's a solar renewable energy credit. Sorry, I apologize for the acronym there, but
Fancy acronyms.
yeah. So
Yeah, you're not used to those.
yeah, so solar renewable energy credits. That's basically what the Illinois Power Agency has put together. That's where the money comes from to pay for solar. So.
And that is the funding behind the community solar and the Solar for All program.
Yeah, exactly. And we had some more, there's some more information that came out of that meeting at the Illinois, Association of County Board Members. So, if you guys have specific questions that you need me to get back to you on, I can certainly do that as well. So.
Okay.
So, and yeah, or ask me to come and, answer any questions you had about what the next steps in the process are, which is basically if you're, already select a contract, the board takes a resolution, or it has makes a resolution to go to an investment grade audit phase, and at that point, you enter into an investment grade audit agreement with the contractor pending state's attorney approval letters.
So, guys, where are you at on that for tomorrow's meeting? Do you have a recommendation for the board?
We may better more. I don't know.
So.
One guy tells me one thing, one guy tells me something else, that's where the.
Well, and I was just talking to Andy before the meeting. I think, I was getting wrapped around the axle on the solar piece and the discrepancies, and I think that was doing us a disservice. So, what I think our most important thing as a county board we need to decide is, does the infrastructure projects at the courthouse, specifically the elevator, and the roof. How high are those priorities, and do we have a plan to execute those outside of a Honeywell type scenario? If we do, great, then I have a decision. If not, then I also have a decision. But I need to know, and that's kind of a big picture ask, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but the more I look into, or we look into some of these projects, I'm not sure there's a good way forward. So that is a big picture item that goes far beyond the original scope of this discussion. So,
In my opinion, as I stated in the committee, is I think we've got to get those big picture issues, i.e. elevator and roof, and have them separate from the energy proposal.
And I'm with
I mean,
you, and I was in that camp, but at the same time, how time sensitive are these issues? Because if they are time sensitive, we are nowhere near where we need to be to tackle that. And that is basically all hands on deck as far as a financing picture, as far as, what's the next steps way forward. I mean, like I said, that elevator could shoot craps tomorrow. And then, that becomes, at that point, basically our decision is made for us, probably. If we're where we are right now, if it shoots craps tomorrow, basically we are gonna have to find the money to put in new guts in that thing. We've got that eyesore for 30 years. If there's some other, path we wanna take and basically have, it all kind of structured out and have someone kind of guide us through the steps and the financing, which I know we can do, but, it would basically be a catalyst to move that project forward. So that's kind of what I've been battling with the last week or so is, what is the best answer? And I certainly would look to you guys to see what your all thoughts are. Your all thoughts? Your all thoughts. All your thoughts would be what I'm looking for. But that's where I'm at.
I don't know whether this will help in the discussion, but when Andy and I were with the bank, and the other bank's willing to do it, because I talked to them, they will offer us a funding source on tax anticipation warrants. Of course, they gotta be paid, so, yeah. So, I mean, you can turn around and send it out for 15, 20 years, and it is, it's anticipation warrants.
I have no idea how that works. Is it like a bonding issue?
Yes,
Timeframe
yes.
and percentage?
Yep.
Okay. Do they give you an idea what that number is, what that percentage is?
3
Three
point,
something,
three
something
something,
like
three,
that.
yeah, it wasn't 4, no, 3.5 was pretty,
Under
3.45.
Now,
On 20, on 30?
You mean
Timeframe.
time frame?
I don't,
We
we
didn't
didn't
get-
discuss that point.
3?
Three?
No. It would take us designating a portion of the general fund tax revenues or some source within that and be a line item to pay off those debt certificates over a set period of time.
Right.
I mean, it is an option, okay?
Is that a viable option for us?
Well, the other
Money
option
man.
would be to go to the taxpayers with the bond issue.
Those are always popular.
Yeah,
Well, a bonding issue is a slightly different thing. I mean, we wouldn't set any different numbers. I mean, you look at community bonds right now, to be competitive, you're gonna have to be in probably the 4 range. I mean, they're basically the same thing.
Right,
Right,
You're not far off.
absolutely.
Different mechanism.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna have to go to a bonding company, and the fees are different. The fees for the airport, which I was gonna get into, and the source is different, because what we can do is
Right.
borrow money against equipment at the airport. Now, there
Right.
was a chance that we might be able to do it on the elevator, but once the elevator is put in, then it becomes part of the building.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of a squishy area as far
Nobody
as
wants to repossess an elevator, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But we did discover we do have options.
Right.
And the banks would be willing to come in and talk to you folks about that, okay?
Yeah, and I think, those issues, I really think we're best keeping them separate from the energy and getting off our butts and tackling those on our own.
So the other piece would be also our lack of luck with someone willing to take a look at that elevator.
mean a new one even?
to move it.
Oh, to move it to the outside of the building, is that what you? Or
We'll just say to move it to a more aesthetically pleasing
Ah,
position.
I got you.
within the
I'm with you.
confines of
I
it.
remember our conversations about it, yes.
And
I
like,
don't know if there's any community support out there for something like that. I've had a few people said, you know, they would love to have it moved, but that doesn't, that's
How
not,
much-
I
how
want
much
to show
you
it
wanna have
money,
moved?
that's what.
Well, the
it's gonna
first
amount
step
to.
on that, before we even make the decision, we're gonna have to get an engineer to come in, look at the options, check what needs to be done, come up with an estimate, possibilities and that stuff, and, you know, we're gonna have to pay an engineer to do that. That's gonna be cash, but
It'd probably be well spent. right?
Yeah.
As opposed to us spinning wheels.
yeah, I really think it would be, you know, you're putting up some money to come up with, to answer the questions that we've been asking ourselves for a
and see,
year
to
and
me,
a half.
that would fall into the positive for the more holistic Honeywell approach, because that would all be on them and less on us trying to coordinate.
Well, we're still paying for the advanced energy audit, the more we ask them to do, the more it's gonna cost us.
Yeah, but I think you're gonna get some economy of scale there, right? You're gonna fold that
Potentially.
in, as opposed to us going out and trying to find somebody willing to take on the project.
In an
So-
effort to, what do you guys need to decide on a recommendation? I mean, cause I mean, I don't mean to, I'm gonna frame it in this thing. If we wait too long, you know,
Right.
we're gonna be out looking in. But
You're
if
speaking
we don't
from
make
the-
the right decision, then we could be out looking in too, so.
Right.
What's your, that first point, what's that based on, what timeline are you referring to?
Well, I mean, they need time, whichever company, to put stuff together for
To
February.
apply for that,
Yeah.
which we may or may not get.
Right, I understand, but I
Right.
mean.
So that's a question for you, with that process, so as we are moving towards a February, lottery, right, or a March, rather. So we've gone through all these steps, at what point are we as a county gonna sign the contract for you for a budget neutral, proposal, or an actual contract, right? Because a lot of that hinges upon whether or not we're selected. So how does that work, or how do you see that timeline going?
So that, the point you mentioned about that, it hinges upon whether or not we're selected, actually depends on whether the project that we do includes the solar as like that it doesn't float without the solar, or whether the project, you know, does flow without the solar and has a budget neutral project, and the solar can be done, you know, whether, you know, if you are selected for that. So that's, we actually just are starting to build a project down in Alexander County that we did the second way there, that we're putting in, you know, the portions of the project that will fund themselves will be able to be budget neutral now. If they get selected for the solar, they're gonna get solar and some other things that can kind of ride along with the solar, because the solar helps.
So it's like a
helps along with
two-phase
that.
type contract.
It's kind of a two-phase type
So-
contract, so we're already under contract with them. They're having to wait till February and March too, so. Which the benefit of that is obviously that you get your
So,
stuff done with the.
As we sit down for kind of, as Barry described, you've got the spreadsheet up there and you got on or off as these various options.
Mhm.
You're doing that ahead of time, but you've got basically two different chunks. One is, here's what we can do right away, and this is all the budget neutral stuff, and this is the other stuff that's gonna cost you, and then we're gonna wait on actually signing off on that until we find out whether or not we get solar, and then we can tackle some of the bigger projects, or, because you're deciding financing, right? Because this whole budget neutral thing is based on financing, so
It is, yeah.
there's two separate financing phases then?
That, it could be done that way, that, you know, that one I spoke about, actually was done as a single financing phase, but basically if it doesn't come to fruition, the money there just basically pays off whatever's left on it, so.
So it's basically, hey, we're signing you up for a 25-year period, budget neutral. It may be a 10 budget neutral if the solar goes through. Is that how it would work?
Yeah, it could be, yeah, like if the solar goes through, then it's just gonna, you're getting the financing deal is contingent, like it's basically the second phase is expecting the renewable energy credits to come in as a payment, basically, so but that doesn't necessarily mean you're signing up for a much longer term because of that, so. And that's one of the benefits of that toggling session that Ori talked about was, you know, it is basically to pick the project that works for you. So if you pick the stuff that you wanna get done, that makes sense, that fits the term you want, and, you know, if solar comes as a phase two, if there's anything that can ride along with it, great, and kind of go from there.
So basically, probably have to figure that solar would be nice, but you can't count on it.
Can't, so
Right.
that's-
Yeah, but with Honeywell, there's no solar.
That's not the case.
That was kind of how they explained it.
They explained that if it didn't make sense in the budget of actually setting up the contract, they wouldn't use it. If that was an option, they would. And again, the solar, sometimes I take a hit on that, you know, we've anchored down on that so much that it seems like that's the linchpin. To me, it's all about the financing, right? So if you've got a way to net meter, you know, 70% of your electrical budget for the year, that's a hell of a, you know, windfall as far as trying to calculate how this works out, right? So, and that was, you know, kind of what I go back and said, that, you know, the numbers are the numbers, and the contract we sign, you know, however it works out, you know, all parties are on board. So, you know, the solar thing is basically immaterial as far as our decision making goes. It goes back to, do we want to tie this in and kind of force the issue of these major upgrades to the courthouse and use the mechanisms that Honeywell has to actually further the process, or do we want to just say, you know, we're going to take the budget neutral answer on as much as we can, as many upgrades as we can, squeeze what we can out of that, and at the same time try to piggyback this separate courthouse modification, you know, improvement that we need to get done.
Derek, wouldn't you consider the top priority is the elevator in the courthouse roof?
Yes, absolutely.
And so are we getting diverted by this other program a little bit? I'm playing devil's advocate here.
I know what you're saying. I think that, you know, absolutely the courthouse, that roof and that elevator are our two biggest infrastructure improvement projects. This came along initially, thanks to SmartWatt, and saying, hey, here's some opportunities to upgrade your system, which said, fantastic, right?
Right.
And so we're all about that, and if we can do it budget neutral, then that's great, and that's a separate issue entirely
That's fine.
from the roof and the elevator, right? So, you know, the Honeywell piece came on, they said, well, we can do this, and so then they have, you know, the experience to maybe push that thing along better than maybe we do. So that's my point. And so at the end of the day, it's for us to decide, do we want to take this as a holistic process, or do we want to break it into two? And one has one answer as far as contract goes, and one has the other.
Which suits our needs.
Well, I think if we're all clear enough on it, we can vote on that tomorrow.
Well, I mean, where are we at? So what does everybody think about, how do we want to, you know, take this, what's your thought on it? Because you're the finance guy, you know, so, and
Well,
you're the guy that
that's-
talked to the engineer, so you two are, in my mind, are kind of what's gonna drive my thoughts
I
on it.
mean, that's your question. Do the energy upgrades are gonna cost X amount?
Right.
Do the roof's gonna cost X amount? Do the elevator's gonna
Right.
cost X amount? Do you do it all at once? Can you afford to do it all at once? I don't know.
I think, I guess, when you're saying the roof and the elevator, are those always gonna be a package deal, or are those potentially separate?
I look at it, I think that you think there's.
The engineering could be a package deal.
Separated.
Right. But you're talking about two big enough projects that you're gonna have to do some sort of public financing, whether that's a bonding, whether that's the anticipation warrants,
Right.
whatever those are. So that's one piece, right? And so-
Debt certificates, I'm sorry, don't say tax anticipation warrants, that's what I said, I'm wrong. It's,
Put the word in here.
sorry.
So, like I say, to me, it's just about, do we want to push this issue, right? Do we want to push the issue of getting our courthouse improvements underway? Because if that's the case, then I lean towards Honeywell, because that's just going to be, you know, it's gonna be thrown in together. And if we think that we wanna be on our own timeline and handle our own financing and keep this front of mind, because again, that elevator is a ticking time bomb, right?
Yep.
Dan's gonna get stuck in there one of these days and we're gonna know where he's at.
I won't
The
be
cats are
around
gonna
till
start.
that time.
Okay, so that's where we're at. So if you guys think that we can get done what we need done without some kind of other organization kind of pushing the ball along, then I'm fine. I come to a decision.
So what do you think? Which way you lean? I trust your judgment. Except the meat,
Ordering meats, yeah. from the
Right.
restaurant.
a little unhappy there.
When you say,
You didn't answer my question.
I'm thinking.
You guys are the,
you gonna continue to think, or can I ask?
No, go ahead.
When you say some of these energy efficient programs that we can enter into, we're gonna have to lay out money first and then,
No, not per what we initially discussed with Smart Water.
I still,
Or Honeywell, they can do the same thing. They can do budget neutral.
Can I ask a quick question? And I'm sorry, I forgot your name, I can call you Ori, but that may be an
I'm
insult.
Dave.
Okay, Dave.
Little paper mask in front of the
When you are doing the energy audit, or the main engineering on it, if we as a county had some other engineering work that we potentially wanted done on a building, could you do that at an additional fee? Or is that outside of your area of expertise?
We could potentially do that, and actually, I apologize, I was on my phone, I was texting Ori, we can put the roof and the elevator can go into our project, it's just that we can also have a project without it, and that's.
Right, so if we asked
So-
you to engineer it, just so we see where we are and what we're looking at, you guys could handle that also?
Those- Yeah, we could
Okay.
figure out how to make that work, yeah, if that's a, a key thing for you guys, is that you need to get the engineering work done on that, I think that we could see if there's some way to put that into the investment grade audit agreement, so,
I would probably be disinclined to tackle it that way.
What's the
I'm
difference
open to
between
open
doing it
options.
that and what Honeywell's proposing?
Well, I think they have they're structured in such a way inside the company that maybe not the engineering, I said the engineering part of that's, I think, done as far as the roof goes, right? Am I wrong?
There's not much engineering on the roof, in all honesty. I mean, we know what
Sure,
replacing a roof is.
right.
I've got it.
the elevators,
The elevator's a different story.
especially if you're considering moving it.
Yeah,
Because that's a structural, we need a structural
Exactly.
engineer, you
Right.
need a mechanical engineer, you'll need 2 or 3.
no,
different kinds of
exactly, and we need to see that before we can make
Oh,
a decision
that's
of whether we even want to think about it.
Sure.
I mean, pie in the sky, we'd all love to, but
What I told you what, Marty, there's basically 2 elevator companies. One of them I contacted, I was to meet her up there on Friday, about a year or 2 ago, and she didn't show. And the other one, I said, I'm interested in two, and they actually, that part of their company does servicing of the elevator. And I said, I'm interested in relocating it and what it would cost to fix it in its present place and to relocate it. He came back and says, I don't think it's a good idea to relocate
Don't do
it.
that.
And I said, well, that's not what I asked you. And that seemed to be his option, was to leave it where it is. So and at one point they said, well, they don't actually, they as a company don't do the engineering. You'd have to hire someone else to come do the engineering to move it. So that's where you are as far as, you'd have to get somebody else.
Well, in essence though, you're gonna demolish the one that's there.
Right.
I would still be operating while you're putting a new one somewhere else, right?
That's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
don't think we're gonna move that shaft, I mean,
no.
all of that,
Can
We'll
be
try to
done later.
preserve the cinder blocks for historical sake.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be a good idea. I don't know, guys, I mean, financially, we have some options. If we don't have to spend any money up front on energy savings, I'm not that concerned about it. I just wanna make sure that our focus is on what we should be focused on. And if we can do some other things that don't draw our resources away from that, then that's fine. I like the thought of a solar farm out at the airport.
All right.
I like that.
I do.
I like the ability to put us into that situation, because I think that's the wave, and I really think ultimately that would be a good thing for us. But you're telling me, I mean, it's a lottery, and I've never been good on lotteries.
Right.
You know,
Well, and guess what?
But
It's
you gotta
not something
buy your
count
ticket.
on.
Right.
Right, at this point. I mean, you might, but it's not something you can count on. So,
And I think, just based on the numbers, because of that, some of the things we talked about, being budget neutral under a 15-year time frame is somewhat limited if the solar farm isn't there, so. But again, any of those, we're having someone coordinate that, we're becoming more efficient, we will have some savings that, that's always good to have more money in the kitty, so, that's to the good. And as long as we feel like, as a body, we can continue to move the ball down the field when it comes to the courthouse and those two projects, and we feel like we can handle the financing and all that, then I'm good. I just wanted to, sorry, I dropped a grenade in the middle of the meeting here. but I
no,
wanted to-
that's what we're supposed to do.
I wanted to get a feel for that, because that's what I've been, battling with in the last couple of weeks, is what's the best answer. So if you guys are confident in that, then I'm fine, I can make a decision.
Okay. Whatever that is.
We'll see.
we.
Do we need to discuss this anymore?
I don't think so.
I sure hope this doesn't come down to,
We'll tell you how to vote tomorrow, Phil, don't worry.
I'll make my own decision.
Me too.
But I like, inanimate, what do you call it, togetherness. I don't like 4-3 votes on anything. Having been on education, screwed over many years, it doesn't ever look good. 4-3 doesn't look good. We need to be in
I think we're in a good
agreement.
spot on this one.
You do?
We all do. Phil?
Did you fall asleep?
No, I've been sitting right here listening to every
Hey,
word you said.
I did.
We know Dan did.
Yes, sir.
You're on the fence. I didn't know which way you went. Dan
Andy,
knows.
do you have anything else to report today?
I don't think, did Pat ever show up? Not that you're aware of.
Who?
Pat,
No, not yet.
I contacted him about some keypad.
Oh.
At the
So
state
we
attorney's
did
office.
committee meetings,
So he said he'd go up and take a look at it.
what about the bids for the audit?
There.
What?
How many we get?
I don't know.
3.
Okay.
I was asking Augie. Well, oh yeah, we've got to open those now.
Are you ready for that now?
Well, I was gonna go to our reports, then we were gonna
Yeah,
come back to that.
we had a animal meeting last week, 20-some dogs in the pound, so, yeah, Andre wants to add a couple more slabs and cages, no, not dogs. So I told her go ahead and get bids on it and get it done, 'cause,
Yeah, she has a pretty healthy donation fund. I think there's 6 or 7
yeah,
grand.
we
Can-
kinda
We
talked.
were talking about that.
Can we give Lori a couple dogs as a
I think
wedding
so,
present?
There we go.
There'll be some money besides what
Right,
she.
just for the upkeep of the pound, that's how we thought about it, so. The bill may come to the board, not through donations.
Well, if there's money, we'll pay it.
Okay,
Oh, sure.
that's how we.
Well, we're pulling 22,000.
I know, yeah,
We do that every
I
year.
know,
Okay.
but some of that money could be used to upgrade the shelter, that's how Lud and I.
Well, remember that we're being reimbursed for what we spend throughout the year. That's how we do.
Well,
do
we
that.
saved the county money on food, we got a good deal on that.
Okay.
But what we saved could be used to increase the size of the pound.
Okay.
All right.
Size is important.
Where's that? Do we allot that a chunk of all that money to animal control every year and then take it back?
They wind up spending X amount of dollars out of the budget, and then we
What's left over, they
reimburse
put
that.
back in general funds.
Right.
Okay. And it's generally about that much money?
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
so
has
it's
been
like,
more, or less. Last year, I think it was 15 or 17. The year before was 25 or 30, and
Well,
it
it
just varies.
shouldn't cost that much, I had a couple more.
No,
Yeah.
and
no, not when they went 24,000
No.
under budget last year. I mean, yeah, I think we can
Two or
build
3,000.
some
Yeah.
things.
Would it make sense to take about half of that and just keep it in the general fund year to year? I mean, it doesn't, it's not a whole lot of effort back and forth, but it seems superfluous if you've got, if every year we're putting on average 20,000, why don't we keep 10,000 in the general fund in the budget?
Because then Gary Henry will write that we're cutting the animal shelter budget.
They get a lot of donations and a lot of
we can talk
donation
about
money there.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
She had a
curious.
poker run, I think she made, what was it, she said $1,500, I think, on the poker runs, a couple weeks ago. So that could be used too, so.
Health department do okay?
Yep,
Cool.
we had a meeting, last week also, or 2 weeks ago, I think, so. No, good shape.
John, do you have anything?
Drainage ditches are working.
That's good to hear.
Nope.
Let no. Derek.
We're meeting next Monday to go up to Springfield and talk about the next project in the pipeline. Everything else is moving along. Last I heard from Tom is he got word back from our sheriff in regards to the sale of our old beacon light. So I think that's in process. We'll ping him on that tomorrow. And they had the airport day this past Saturday.
It was?
It wasn't advertised very well, was it? I went out last year, I didn't see it advertised.
Yeah, it was the 6th, so.
Huh.
Oh, I was.
Wasn't aware.
They had a car show and hot dogs. I didn't get a full report and I wasn't able to go, so. There was a request that kind of got garbled for a parade of those vehicles down a runway. And I kibosh on that for the near term. Said
You have to have that pre-approved.
you have to have a NOTAM, so somebody doesn't come and try to land on somebody's court, whatever, yeah. So, just because I wanted this process to go smoothly, I wanted this project to push through, and, you know, I just don't wanna rock the boat in regards to something that minor, so, I don't need to phrase it that way, but, so, that was a little bit of friction, with myself and the committee, but nothing major, so, hopefully it was a success, and I'll report on that shortly. That's it.
Okay. I have several items. Labor, the labor attorney that we employ is making his final written arguments. They're due the 26th, and then sometime in the next 60 days, we'll hear something about it. So, just so in case you were wondering. Resource officer for Shiloh, we've been talking to the superintendent and the sheriff, etc.
Yeah, we have a board member at the hospital, talked to him this morning.
And, I'm sorry, Dan, what were you saying?
So the board member that works in radiology at the hospital, I've been kind of keeping him updated on too.
Okay,
Aaron Richardson.
we do have management's rights section that allows us to, and the attorney and the rep from the other side have discussed this, and we can contract for services. So, for example, if you wanted to make, we would place a resource officer at Shiloh, okay? First of all, if it was a full-time employee, you could choose from a full-time deputy, or, but they would be union. But it would not be based on seniority. You could choose the officer, he or she, that you wanted to be the resource officer, and then maintain him there on the sheriff's own authority, which is under management rights. So it wouldn't be subject to anything but the discretion of the sheriff because of the way the contract's written, okay? So that part's fine.
So, that's where, the way we're leaning is a full-time?
Well, no, I mean, that's if,
That's one option.
if he could, yes. We wanted to make sure that the school had the resource officer and we were appointing, or the sheriff was appointing who we thought would be the best fit for that rather than have it be based on some other criteria.
Can I ask a silly question? Is there a chance that that would change with the contract that we're still negotiating?
No.
Okay.
But I want to let you know, the sheriff and I have a meeting with the superintendent on the 20th, which is, or 22nd, which is a board meeting. Isn't that our next study session? Anyway, 11 o'clock in the morning, so we'll be talking to him then. And hopefully hammering out details so that we can make sure that the board is aware. And of course, they're more than willing to reimburse the county for the cost of that office, okay? They would also be available for emergency, in other words, dispatch, if they were up there and they were needed somewhere. That's not an issue, okay? And those will all be written into the agreement. We have several agreements from several different entities to look at and make sure that Mark and Rick are well versed in what we're signing, and that's something the sheriff is.
This individual would be dedicated to that role. There's no moving back and forth, replacing that billet under somebody else for vacation.
Well, it would be depend on whether they were full-time or part-time. If they were full-time, then they would be available roughly 3.5 months a year.
To us.
To us.
Right, but we would hire an individual specifically for the role of resource officer plus, basically. That's the idea.
That's possible. There is also somebody, I don't want to get into the weeds too much. It's possible there could be somebody that's already on staff that could do it too.
Already a road deputy?
Well,
Not necessarily.
not necessarily,
Okay.
okay?
So, but the going in plan is then to use that individual from the hours of 3:30 till 5, potentially for some other.
No, probably not, because they'd have to be there.
They have full day.
Yeah, they'd have a full day in most of the time. Plus, they might be pulled out to go to extracurricular activities also. Okay?
So they're gonna be basically responsible for being at Charlotte schools from 8 to 5.
Well, no, more like 7. 7
Seven.
in the morning,
7 to 4.
7 to 4, somewhere in that area.
Okay. And then.
If we all agree to
9
it.
months out of the year, or whatever.
Yeah, it's
180 days.
180 days, thank you. So, whatever that works. But the school district would reimburse us for the full year. Okay?
And we could use that individual at our discretion for the
Right.
185 days a year.
Okay? I mean, it's not a done deal. I just wanted to report where we're at. And then we're meeting the checklist that the sheriff has as far as concerns and so forth, okay? And Alan's, quite frankly, because they want the right person, they want them to fit in also. Let's see, we've talked about the ambulance. I gave you all a deal from Mark. Basically, what it boils down to is they have rewritten the laws that allowed our current special district. They've rewritten them, they no longer exist. So under the state's attorney's look at it, he's saying a special district statute might be used to set up based on a rescue squad district or a fire protection district. They're gonna continue to look into that. He also asked me which was the second to last paragraph, is there board of trustees, is there terms, is there appointments, so forth. There's none of that. The only thing I explained to him that we do is, you notice here at the bottom, is that we pass a levy and we maintain an agreement, which has been 5 years at a shot, with the current ambulance service, and that's how we maintain it. That's what we're doing. So it may be, by the way, Kansas contacted me and said they're set up within their fire protection district. They're fine. They don't want to be included. And now the Northern Edgar Ambulance Service is looking at the special districts possibly to do their thing. So it may jettison us back to ourselves, maintaining the current system that we currently have, and about the first of the year notifying if the board decides they want to rebid the ambulance service. We need to make those decisions early because we have the obligation in our contract to let them know whether we're going to renew.
30 days prior.
Right, 30 days, but I don't think anybody, we don't want to wait
No,
until
no.
30 days. We should let them know probably right after the first of the year what our intentions are. So we need to look at how we want to approach that, whether we want to bid it out like we did 5 years ago and it meant nothing because we haven't executed the 30-day notice.
But you're saying Northern Edgar County wants to keep it how they're doing it now, and
Well,
nothing's changing? I mean, for us, nothing's changing.
nothing possibly has changed. I mean, they need to look at the rescue district or the fire protection district and see how they want to form up there.
Are they wanting some type of levy to pay for Northern Edgar County? Is that what?
Well, that's what that
happened?
would do. What they're currently doing is operating by the local municipalities, whether they're townships, cities, or whatever, are all contributing to a fund that maintains that. It's an agreement, so they have an intergovernmental agreement with all of those agencies.
But aren't they having trouble funding it now? Or?
Well, what they've all agreed to do is double their funding,
Okay.
and they're hoping that that will constitute a good enough fix that they can continue to operate successfully. In lieu of that, they might, and I talked to Kevin Julian basically a little bit yesterday, they could always attach themselves to a special district up there and operate it like that, okay?
So 99% solution, they're out of the picture, they're gonna handle their own, or at least they're not gonna figure it out until after we did this.
Probably not.
Okay.
The only thing that the attorney said that we could put in, and I mean Mark, is we could put a clause in there that if for some reason we decided to take advantage of prevailing law and expand the district, then they would be responsible to negotiate with us on the expansion of the
That
district.
makes sense.
It's just an option.
I'm not sure that's
saying
necessary.
That's if
they-
Yeah, I mean,
if they want to.
Okay,
And they have to.
otherwise,
Yeah, I
we're
don't
not
think
saying
I'm
we're
gonna
going to.
extend that. They need to get that to us. If they come and request that prior to us going into negotiations, that's fine. I'm willing to entertain that. But that's what, we're not just gonna go out and rewrite a contract just in case they
Right.
have overshot their mark, so.
Right, I agree too.
Okay.
All right.
We get a little unclear, I'm a little unclear of the last paragraph here, aren't you? As far as.
Okay, he wanted to know whether we were currently doing that.
Okay.
It's not
I mean,
required.
But I don't see that that's right, that's not necessarily our requirement for us to do that.
No, it is not.
But does it sound like it's a requirement for, or he's just asking if?
He's just asking
Okay.
if,
I
okay?
thought maybe he was, okay.
There isn't any concerns, we're fully grandfathered with that since there's, no law exists with which to assemble one of these.
Right.
However, we're not in any danger of it, like, under a renegotiation collapsing and us having to go through some other.
I will ask him that question, but
Okay.
he answered that to what I believe, saying, since we were formed under it and they changed the law after the fact, we're okay. But I will ask him directly to give us an answer, written answer on that, okay? All right? Yeah. Are you okay now?
Yeah.
All right. Levy. You guys got the levy, I believe, a couple weeks ago. I made copies of the last page, which basically shows you what we're proposing. And none of this is chiseled in stone, but you can see at the top of the page, it says 2017 extensions. Those were actually the taxes that were extended by the clerk's office and had levies passed last year. And that's, we're gonna receive probably 97 or 98, 99% of that levy. the 3.490 million. The proposed levy for 18 is a little bit less, okay? But it has some increases because of some of the levied funds. For example, the retirement fund, the tax, I'm sorry, not the tax fund, but the,
It's the biggest delta, right?
I'm sorry.
Social Security?
Social Security, well, Social Security is going up. Mental health is going up. Extension of education is staying the same. Health board is going up a little bit. County tax retirement is going down significantly. Matching, CATB is going up, highway is going up. Tort immunity is going up a little bit, and then the general tax is going up, and you can see how much there. Wait a minute, this is not right. This whole thing is not right. I haven't got the right one. I'm sorry.
Cool.
This is, yeah, this is not even the right one.
That was a test, you failed, you should have.
I copied the wrong one. This is last year's.
Okay.
Okay, and we probably don't have it.
Okay.
Darn it.
Well, I handed it out.
Right, but I don't have it with me to
Oh,
discuss.
yeah, not with you, but
In the pocket?
No, you got it
No.
a week and a half ago.
I emailed it and then I,
Yes, the levy is going up 2.6%, total levy. Okay, I can remember. General fund is going up, CATB is going up, the federal aid is going up, matching, and then the county highway tax, as well as the education, or the health department, and the mental health. They're all going up. But there are several that are going down. And do you have one? Oh, okay.
no, that was
But the overall levy increase is 2.6%.
That's correct, which falls below the 5% need to have a hearing, tax hearing. I'm sorry, guys, last night was late and I made these copies and I made it look wrong here. See, it says ending November 30th, 18.
Yeah. That's all.
Anyway, I'm sorry about that. But at any rate, it's 2.6. The biggest, one of the biggest percentage increases are those that we talked about, but they're also offset by a drop in the retirement, Social Security, and tort, I think, are all going down. Okay?
And the retirement's going down because we're all caught up on it.
That and about a year and a half ago, we could have dropped it a little bit more last year. That sounds terrible, but we weren't sure how things were going to shake out. But when some of our employees went off of the Augie, what's the deputies have one percentage, and we were paying some of the other folks at that same percentage, and that was not legal. So we dropped them back down to the regular employee levy or contribution, and that saved quite a bit of money.
we were paying them SLEP and they should have been in a regular IMRF.
Right. So all in all, plus catching up, this still leaves us in pretty good shape. So if you would take a look at the one at home, and we'll discuss it a little bit more on tomorrow, and I'll get the right one in my hand. Sorry. Okay, budget-wise, and I was hoping the sheriff would be here. Very little has changed as far as the budget in the actual budget items. The main change would be under the sheriff's, and we'll ask him to go in it. He has increased staff by 2 for jailers in his budget, okay? And that ties directly into the reports that we've been getting back from the Bureau of Prisons that says that we are not sufficiently staffed at our jail, and addresses that directly.
So we're hiring another jailer rather than shutting down the floor, which was the other option.
We're actually hiring 2 more jailers.
Right, but to have,
Right.
to have
And
one
we-
more on shift. I
Well,
assume.
from a safety standpoint and everything else, I mean, they've gone into quite a few good reasons, even if we closed off the top floor.
You still need more.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a tangible thing that we're doing to directly affect those reports in a positive way. And I think it'll go.
The last guy that came in was different than the person who'd been doing it previously.
Well, and remember they said, what did the sheriff say? They said, well, you can spend money on the jailers or you can spend money on the court case when we sue you. So, and we figured our folks' safety and the people we're charged to protect in the jail, even if they have offenses that they've perpetrated, we still have an obligation to everybody involved. So the sheriff, that is one of the main things. There's an increase built into the budget for all the non-elected officials, which are pre-prescribed, but there's an increase in here for county employees.
How did you do the sheriff's budget with our question mark in regards to the contracts? Worst case or?
Yes. Yes, sir. So, and all of them, everything else has been updated. There are some increases in what we allot for the computer line items, because quite frankly, some of the software has increased, and so those are things that we had to take into account, okay? But I'd ask you to take a look at those items. A little bit embarrassed about the levy, but I pretty much know it.
Was that the paper copy, or did you send it electronically to us, what you want us to review?
Augie, you sent it to you
Electronic.
guys,
Yeah.
except for John and Carl. They've got hard copies and you all got it electronic.
And
I don't
I'll
know
have
if
paper
yours-
copies for you in the morning.
So, and
I
I
can stop
would,
by if you don't want to make it.
I would point out that the budget is balanced with if we expend everything, get everything in we're talking about, there'd be a $3,683 surplus.
That budget has in it the extra money we put towards our deficit.
No, hang on. Let me get you to that. I was unable to. Miscellaneous. There, no, there is no debt reduction, but there is still transfer to 841 for the courthouse improvement fund. Okay?
Yeah, that one should never fall behind.
Yeah.
It just,
Right, that's in there. We're
Should be
hoping there's
rid of those
stuff left.
rules.
We're looking at, not spending about 7% of the budget this year, so there should still be some money that would go back in that, but at this point, it's not budgeted.
okay, so.
And having the contract still out makes a huge difference on the budget. You know, if you budget for worst case,
That which is
hopefully
what
we're not there.
what he did, right?
Right.
So hopefully
Yeah.
we're better, yeah. What is the dollar amount that you're expecting? I'm looking hold you this for our pay-in this year, or deficit reduction?
Now, we need to cut those checks here sometime next month. I'm sorry.
It doesn't have to be NASDAQ, I just was curious what the actual financial term.
Well, we budgeted 58,000.
Oh, we did budget this past year, and so we
The
should.
one
hit
we're in
that.
right now, there's
Okay.
58.
I see.
And we'll do every bit as we can of that, but,
You think it'll be close?
yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's gotta be at least 36,000 no matter what, just to keep us from not falling farther behind,
Right.
Okay.
okay?
And we're about, what, 7 still? 6 or 7?
I was hoping for more in-depth, but we do need to remind you that we do pass the budget, or lay it over the first meeting in November, and then we final approve it on the 28th. We'll have 2 regular board meetings in November, just to remind you fellas of that, okay? And please bring your questions, whether it's a study session or a board meeting, doesn't matter. We can all deal with it, okay?
Question about the meeting, the cable television.
Yeah, I'm gonna be, we'll do the agenda here.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine, no.
I just saw if there was a blank on there.
There was a transfer of ownership, so what we're doing is just modifying that so that we're dealing with the correct people, is that right?
Yes, and in order, the county receives a franchise fee just because they come into the county. There's been a restructuring or change of ownership, and they have to have a new resolution on file that basically says, yeah, we're the county and we'd be glad to take whatever money you send our way. The city gets a fee, we get a fee, we just do.
So basically, we already have the resolution, we're just changing the name of the company because.
In essence, yes, they just need a new
Right.
updated resolution to reflect the names.
Is there a number that goes in that paragraph?
That's what, percent.
Well,
Glaring blank.
yeah, Mark looked this all over, and their resolution didn't exactly fit a county, it fit a city, and Mark did not know the percentage that we get back. We're trying to find that out. I don't.
75% of revenue, something like that?
Yeah,
Reasonable?
maybe 80% of it, no. But it certainly is, it's based on the number of subscribers, obviously. And quarterly, we get somewhere in the vicinity of $2,700. And that is not expected to change. But what that percentage is, I don't know.
Is there an old contract somewhere with the previous, I mean, nothing else, that's usually our MO around here is we steal from the past. Is there one on file or?
Well, I would need to go dig for that old contract.
Okay, well, I guess I wouldn't want to move backwards, and have some sort of number on there. I mean, I don't know all the negotiations have gone back and forth, but if they're asking for a renewal of the contract, I certainly wouldn't want them to just take the pen to that, put that, whatever number well, it's what we did before. I'd like to know what we've been getting paid in the past, and if we've got if we've got other contracts from other municipalities, what, is that line blank, or is there a number in there we can use to make sure that we are, commensurate with?
There was a set number in the old contract, what we got.
I have to look, honestly.
Our franchise fee that they paid us. Okay?
Yeah, well, that's my question.
That's
Is I want to know what the.
resolution where you don't know what the percent's gonna be.
Well, why would it be a percent? Actually, it
What's
was
the
a dollar.
per the
I
contract.
think it was a percentage.
That's what I said.
Percent of what?
Yeah, that's what.
Whatever their-
Gross revenues.
No, it was a set, it was a set fee. We got, because I know from budgeting that it was a set fee that we actually got because we have no idea. Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
But there's
I mean, this is showing blank
there's no
percent.
set, we've never seen a gross sales or anything or gross revenue from any company.
No, you're exactly right.
So we had a dollar amount written in there, and that's how much they paid us per month.
We probably should table this.
Or quarterly.
Well, okay, so if we're gonna modify it to have a dollar amount, what was that last contract drawn up?
We should have a copy. We
85?
just didn't know, it was, we just did that a year or two ago. 2 years, 3 years
It's
ago.
been- I don't ever remember doing it in my term.
We had, unless there was another franchise deal, we just renewed that with them. It's not been that long ago.
But I'd say that's important to get our hands on. And then
I think I'll redo it.
if it's a dollar amount, I'd wanna make sure that it's adjusted for inflation and all that, so. getting what we should.
And we're talking the communications tower and all that, right?
No, this
No.
is
This is different.
cable internet.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Sorry.
Yes, I do.
I'm thinking-
That's what
okay.
we
Now,
did.
it's a percentage.
Is it a percentage?
The new wave is a percentage.
Then we need a,
They didn't
how
know
much
the
was
percentage.
the,
We don't know.
We all know.
okay, well, we can't pass it unless we
No,
have
can't.
a percentage in there.
I'm fine with 50.
And my bill goes up, doubles.
Not my problem,
I
man.
know, it's mine.
Other about
I live
mistakes,
in
I'm
Canada.
not-
Sorry,
I've got
I'll
nothing-
find
I was
it.
thinking,
That's
I'll
gonna be
find
the
it.
question, how much is my bill gonna go up?
yeah, whatever we charge is
That's not
what
what
it's
happened.
going up, yeah. Let's see, we got minutes, we got select.
We're gonna table this, huh?
No.
No,
Give them that
that's fine.
We'll have the number for tomorrow.
Okay, did you wanna talk about your voting centers?
Yeah, I'll
Any
make a real
questions?
quick comment. It already approved calendar year 18 voting centers earlier in the year, but since we moved out of Kansas high school, Kansas school, into the Kansas church, I just felt better if we would just go ahead and update that and just approve them again. Plus, it's easier for me to hand out if anybody asks where our voting centers are, especially the Secretary of State, the Attorney General's office, State Board of Elections. I can just email them a current document. So that's really all that is.
Any comments on the predictable fee?
Yes. Oh, well, you're asking me or them?
You.
Okay, yes. There was a law passed last year that mandates every county in the state of Illinois to have what's called a predictable fee for their recording fees. And rather than the state telling the counties what it's going to be, they basically allowed each county to set their own predictable fee subject to either a new fee study or an amended fee study. And in our case, since we did a fee study just a few years ago, they just amended, the same company amended our fee study for recording fees, and they came up with a number. It's $69. Now, this law is completely ridiculous because our fees they're on our website. We have a full fee schedule, and everybody knows right now it's $66 plus for the first 4 pages, then it's $1 per page for each subsequent page. So you can add that up pretty simple. Well, the law now states a county cannot charge for additional pages. So to make up for that difference, the fee study says, in our case, we're going to go from $66 to $69.
Dollars or cents? $69 for any document request?
To record a document.
Okay.
Whether it's 1 page or whether it's 15 pages, it's $69. Instead of $66 for the first 4 pages and then $1 per page thereafter. So doing the simple math, we're going to lose money on this deal. Okay? But that's the way the law is written. And the law goes into effect January 1st of 2019. And I've known about this for a year, but I haven't brought it to you, gentlemen, because I want to get as much of that fee income as we can based on our fee study that we had done a few years ago. Plus, I've had to put a notice out that this is going to change, and then within 60 days of, around 60 days of implementing, or the board passing it, then we can implement it by January 1st. Now, I can go in a little deeper. There are non-standard fees. If you have legal paper, that's non-standard. If you do not put or leave a 3x5 space in the upper right-hand corner, that becomes non-standard. Then our regular rates do apply for that. Okay? I can drill down deeper, but I won't. I'll entertain questions.
Okay,
So if you buy a house, it's gonna cost you $3 more.
Second Amendment, that's in our packet.
That's in your packet. Please, please, get in your packet, read that Second Amendment thing. It's been shelved for a while. Anything that, at the time, there was specific legislation in front of the legislators, and we opted to not get involved in politics.
I
think it spells it out, but you guys read it,
Just deal with it.
deal with it tomorrow.
Are we gonna table the calendar, or are we going to
Oh,
the option thing, or?
well, the way I have the calendar now on your agenda is exactly the way that it comes down to us from the Supreme Court Justice in Illinois. With the exception, historically, for years, the board has always given Good Friday an additional holiday. Okay, so there's 13 of them. There has been a lot of talk over the last several years about maybe swapping one of the holidays for Christmas Eve. Because Christmas Eve it's a wonderful time to be off, but it's also dead. I mean, there's zero going on everywhere in the county. And so it would be nice to have Christmas Eve off. And so I'll ask on behalf of everybody, if you want to add another day to the calendar, that would be wonderful. But if you chose not to, we understand. I don't have a straw poll, because I know that for however many department heads and employees I ask, I'm going to get a lot of different answers. But it seems like the majority of the people that I've talked to, department heads, would like to have Christmas Eve.
What's our obligation as far as, we can't strike a state holiday from the calendar, can we?
Good question. These holidays are the days that the court is allowed to be closed.
So allowed to be, they could be open.
Could be open.
Is the circuit clerk's office and the judges on Christmas Eve there?
They are, talk to Angie, she said, don't worry about us, because
I'm thinking about our citizens, not them.
what was the question?
Is that office open?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I misunderstood.
The idea is consistency in the offices. If you go up there and you go to the circuit clerk's office and you gotta do business, then turn around and go to the county clerk's office, but it's closed, I just ask you to consider that. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that if we're gonna, do we wanna be closed when the judicial system is open and vice versa?
I just present it, just lay it out there.
I just saying that's been the argument in the past, is that if
Yeah.
we've got offices open, we ought to all be open, as opposed to some being open and some being closed. It may not make a difference, I don't know, but
You're saying, so in essence, just this particular year, you'll be closed Saturday, you'll be closed Sunday, you'll be closed Monday, and you'll be closed Tuesday. Is that what you're thinking?
well, no, I'm just thinking,
I'm just thinking
not
it's
all.
4 days in a row.
Well, I wasn't even thinking about that, the circuit clerk's office is gonna be open on Monday.
Okay.
Now, do we wanna have the rest of the courthouse closed that day?
something to think?
I don't know.
Oh, we gotta think about this now. Going past
Well,
it.
I actually thought we were gonna put this on next month's. And so we'd have a chance to talk or think about it, but we don't, if you guys have an opinion, that's fine. I just,
Well, we can table it till next month with no problem,
oh, yeah.
no problems.
No, as long as they know going into January 1st.
Yeah.
If we take away their New Year's holiday, they're gonna wanna know it before.
Yeah,
then.
that's probably not gonna fly.
Well, and it may not matter. I'm just thinking, but I don't want, if you get a call next year because somebody was there to do something, and why is half the courthouse closed and half of it not?
The other side of that, and I'm just gonna throw this out there for transparency, Good Friday is not on the judge's list.
Right,
They are open on Good Friday. Everybody else is closed.
okay,
And so,
it may not matter.
and it may not matter,
Okay.
but there you go.
That's as clear as mud.
Yeah. So don't take it away, but.
No.
All right.
Anyway, we do not have to table it. If it's, we can
Okay.
try it,
Well, then-
and then if next year it's an issue, then we can,
We're talking
Change
about
that.
basically adding an additional day,
No.
not shuffling.
no, we're moving from,
Well,
You basically would add an additional day.
Add an additional day.
what?
I'm the one, no, I said that tongue in cheek about adding a day.
No, we're not
But,
adding a
no,
day.
actually, it would be swapping a day.
Right.
And,
You've got
That
my
day
heart.
would-
you know,
Which would-
what I gave you
Swapping it.
is what we, historically, is what we've always done.
Which-
We can pass that, and then if,
What days are we swapping?
Yeah, that's what
I don't know.
That's
I mean,
Like
Which-
Columbus Day or something,
Wait.
like there's still stuff that's open that day?
Start a riot and be Martin Luther King Day,
Yeah, we
start a
do that,
riot
yeah.
there, so.
That'd be a good-
there's I think there's a lot of interest in swapping out that day.
Which one?
Blood, Martin Luther King.
I don't think you could do that.
One parachute.
I'm just telling you because when you have a
They have
couple,
school then.
you have 3 days in November,
Yeah, school
all right?
They do.
Then you have December, then you have January 1st, then you have, okay, you know what, let's table it, we'll discuss it later.
Oh, no.
No, I just
No,
want
let's just-
everybody to listen to you.
I have to get back to work at 11:30.
All right.
You just do whatever you want to do.
Well, I don't think we should add another holiday.
I didn't say that.
No, but if we
understand.
swap Martin Luther
you
King
just-
for
you just
Christmas
kidding,
Eve,
weren't
I'm
you?
not opposed to that.
That's right.
Let's move on and open up the audit bids.
Yeah, we need to open the audit bids, really. Go ahead.
I'm short-staffed, that's why I'm in a hurry, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You wanna open them, you want me to?
Come on, you're the clerk. I'm just,
You know, I'm
Trying to help you.
I'm just the messenger guy.
That's the tennis one. I assessed that.
which one? Who's
This
it?
is Doughty and Parks.
How much?
Oh, look up, it was like, here, I'll do it.
Well, the others probably have a big thing on introducing the firm.
Well, I'd be glad to tell you what it is, but I'm unable to locate it. Obviously because I haven't looked at it yet.
Maybe it's free.
Hey, oh, there's a lot of flowery language in there. A lot of stacks.
$39,000.
Hopefully the next one won't be that high.
That is down.
I never use that alcohol.
You choose.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's gonna get tacked onto the price.
How do I say that? Whip,
Pass.
whip,
How you spell?
WIPFLI. Whatever that
Whipley?
means.
Oh, Whipley.
Whatever that means.
I know him.
Approve that. They don't make it real easy, do they?
No, because option one is it's a 3-year bid,
A smorgasbord.
is $32,750, but if there is a single audit, then that is an additional $3,500. So,
Okay,
and then option two is a 1-year bid of $35,600 plus $5,000 for a circuit clerk.
The two of lost me.
Then a single audit, if necessary, is $5,000.
okay.
So
Well,
35
you
plus
pass those
5
out.
for circuit clerks at 40,000?
If it's a
Yeah.
1-year bid, it's $35,600. There's an additional $5,000 to do a circuit clerk audit.
And that's a, yes, we do that.
So it's
You
40.
have to.
Yes,
It's
and then if a single audit is necessary, then it's an additional $5,000 on top of that.
So 45,000.
So it would be 45,600 total.
Okay,
Yeah, there's one for,
Sorry
there's one for each of you.
We do this yearly, every 2 years.
every year.
And this one is from Clifton Larson.
What was DMP's fee this year?
37, it's in the budget here.
So a bit of an increase, but not.
Well, but part of that is from having to go into,
From approval to,
Okay.
Yes.
or to approve.
We can just put it on one page, so this is it.
Wouldn't that be a lot
38.
easier?
38's what we spent,
Okay.
so it's honest, I would be concerned about that.
Well, they had to charge us more because of the changeover,
Right.
but then they're basically marking up that extra price with an extra markup.
Okay, here is a, for the year ending, they have, looks like a 3-year,
Right,
33,000. Then for 2019 be 34,000, and 2020 would be 35,000. In those years, for the circuit clerk audit, there's an additional $7,500 each year,
okay.
and
That's on the multi-year?
Every
yes,
year.
every year for the next 3 years.
And then what for a single audit, did they say? Because it's possible next year we'll have to have a single audit because of the airport. Depends on how they look at that.
So I don't understand.
Well, they do not,
Federal funds, anything over $500,000.
I
So
think it's 700.
Basically saying that our annual audit doesn't account for that, we have to have a standalone.
Yeah, basically it's a couple of pages on federal audits, or for the feds on.
So Dottie didn't even quote.
There's an additional $500 to prepare the Illinois Comptroller's report. Did I say $500?
Yes, you do.
Yeah. It does not mention anything about a single audit.
Did we get it to mention? Did
Yes.
we ask?
Is there a 1-year price on there either? those are separate things, right? Just so I'm clear.
They put it out there for 3 years.
Yeah, the 33, 34, and 35. To that you order, they had 7,500 in each year, and then 500 each year.
But if we rebid every year, we need a 1-year price.
If you rebid it every year, that, and they don't like to do that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I don't blame them for that either.
We usually bid every 3 years.
Okay.
What?
No,
Well,
we-
you're not required to.
So, yeah, so we're looking for a 3-year bid, that's the cheaper option, so we have that option, right?
But okay.
Come on.
Except that if you look at the 3-year bids, they're more than.
Well, this last one is the most expensive, that second one, I got confused with the pricing, but that first year was cheaper unless I missed some additional costs.
there's one for everybody, so just
Yeah,
take
give me
one.
that thing.
Oh, this is not the one that I just read. This
Right.
So I
is the
need
prior.
to call Joe and ask
That's
him
the
if
one that I
that's-
just read.
Joe's has the circuit clerks in it, but we'll check.
Anyone of those people can see it.
We need one more here, right?
I got mine.
We need to check with Doherty and find out if that includes the circuit
Do you
clerk.
have them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I have one, thank you.
What's it, Whipley? So Darting Parks, they said 39, no?
Augie's reading over again.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll say in there probably what it includes, I'm hoping. Well, we're gonna have to study it. Yeah.
Would you hand that to Jeff, please?
Sorry.
Well, it's not just as easy as a single page. It says here, here, here. So,
Makes a difference.
Yeah, Derek, the middle one, roughly, I came up with a total of about 45 cents with all the various and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, I
Well,
apologize.
that's what the single audit is 46.
Blood was distracting me. Let's go.
Well, I was just sitting there, I already got in trouble once.
Standard answer.
Doesn't bother you, does it?
Bill, Bill will be my first time.
Mine either.
So, Dottie's didn't mention any kind of,
Or is it just straight up? Well,
where'd John go? So page 18 of that is what I think we should be able to be looking at on there, Andy.
What's that?
18.
Yeah.
So that one, and that's what I heard.
Sorry, clerk.
So Jeff, do you think that we would, if we continue on the path we're kind of setting down here for the airport, expectation we would potentially have a single audit every year, 18, 19, 20?
I don't know the way they're bidding
It'd be
it,
19,
whether
I guess.
they're actually not receiving funds, so we may not have a problem with it,
Okay.
come to think of it. Because we're not getting $1 million whatever.
Right.
The state is actually spending that, okay? So I don't know of any other large grants we're getting, and as long as we don't get over $500,000, we should be okay. What I'm looking for was, see, they don't.
What he included, what they included?
Right.
Oh,
Did you get, look on 18 and see if that's what, sorry, in front of you, John. Yeah, 18. See if that's what you were tracking on, or if I'm missing some other, this is all, you pulled everything from this page? when you were
Yes.
Reading it to us?
Yep.
But even at that,
That one's cheaper, quite a bit, looks like.
yeah, the 3-year
3 year, yeah.
would be from Whipley, would be the cheapest one. And it says exactly what they're gonna do for us, right?
Anybody ever heard of them?
No, they have not. But that doesn't mean,
No.
They're
There's-
associated with Bob's Trains, they're kind of big outfits.
They do my taxes.
they do your taxes.
oh, really?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, okay.
Good folks, I like them.
Yeah, they're good, actually.
I mean, I like the brochure, that's selling me. So to me, can I see the Dottie Parks one? Is there anything on there that was?
Hey, you know, basically, they're basically saying, we're gonna do what we've been doing for you. So, which isn't very helpful. I mean, it's helpful what they've been doing, but it doesn't answer the question, does that
It
include?
doesn't delineate
Yeah,
what's included with
right.
that.
Plus, it's not cheaper.
I mean,
Well, and even if you add on, I didn't see anything in here about single year or whatever it's called. Did you see something, Augie? Yes, sorry.
Yeah, in the Whiffley, they do have the single audit.
The single audit in Clifton, Larson is 5,000 extra each year. In Whiffley, they don't, I didn't see that they added anything for that. Did you, Augie?
In the Whiffley?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
have
you're-
on the 3-year option, it's 3,500 a year, the 1-year option, it's 5,000.
Well, that's for the,
No, a
circuit
year and a-
clerk.
which one?
No, that's for the
that's for
single audit.
Where are you?
Oh, yeah.
on the page 18,
Oh, does it?
yeah,
Oh, I thought it
they
was-
include the circuit clerk
Right.
audit in
Oh,
there,
okay.
in that total
Oh,
option
yeah.
one, total.
Yeah, it's,
Well,
31,
geez, that's a
31.9, and
no-brainer.
32.75.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
I mean, yeah,
No, I agree.
Tell
I agree.
you,
I mean,
do you
That's
concur?
nuts.
I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
Do you need,
Concur with this.
we pass this on
tomorrow.
tomorrow? I think it's a little time to look at it, but
Yeah.
I don't.
Somebody's gonna have to tell us how to pronounce it.
I'll call him and ask him.
With whitefly, whitefly, actually, that's the correct
I've
word.
had it for quite a while.
Whiffley is easier to remember.
Whip sounds right to me.
Well, you can't even talk about the CPA on there, because his name's Schueller.
Hell, I've never been able to pronounce Doherty.
Shoot, or Doherty.
Yeah.
Dottie,
Dottie.
Me, teacher,
We'll take a look at it.
good job.
You know,
Did you know that?
but it appears that Whiffley is cheaper. Well, and we need to read about him a little bit.
They provided a lovely
Oh, he
brochure.
says they're good.
And I know,
I'm sure the brochure says they're
I know
good.
Clifton, and, you know, and Larson,
They get one for it.
but they're the highest, so. And any money we can save, they're certified public accountants, my gosh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I figured you guys
We
were
do it
vertically
because
integrated.
we have to,
You have your
right?
own cake flour mill.
Well, and if we don't have a single audit, we're looking at saving almost,
You guys got a refill
what,
back?
$7,000 a year?
And you know what, Dottie's done, I mean, I've been happy with what they've done, and I assume you have, or, you know, seem to be, but having another set of eyes every
That's
once in a
exactly
while
right.
is
I
not a
was
bad
actually
deal.
thinking
Why not?
that too.
If I can confess, I really don't look through those audits all that hard.
Really?
Sorry, guys, I
Hey, I'm
apologize.
with you,
You
Derek.
just flip through the books and look at the pictures.
Yeah, there's no pictures. These guys, obviously, they're comfortable with
You got
graphics
a
and
nice
pictures,
picture on the
you
front,
know,
yeah.
I don't make. They got prime rib.
Do you have anything,
Check out
Augie,
these
do you have
graphics.
anything?
There.
Voting started,
Yeah, that'd be easy to do.
Check out those
Can
graphs.
we can vote
September the
now.
27th.
September 27th. We can vote now.
You can vote now.
this has been an interesting
Vote now.
meeting.
No reason other than you just wanna
I'll get
vote.
my one
So
vote.
what are you gonna write about, Gary?
My one
I'm gonna
vote.
wait for tomorrow.
So many options.
So many options.
We're kinda all over the map,
We're
aren't
gonna
we?
actually make some decisions, all right, tomorrow.
So now do you know why Orrin likes
What are you
to come
saying,
hang
man?
out with us?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of fun, Alex.
What's, just to extend this meeting a little bit longer, what's the amendments to the water and sanitation ordinance?
She's gonna be here tomorrow to explain.
Yeah,
They're,
He added a couple things. in.
right, and I think they're predicated on
Four
state
ply.
law changing,
Yeah.
so they're
Four
kind
ply,
of our
instead of three
requirements.
ply.
Right.
Which we're putting in place for the townships or the communities to.
I have no idea, you're gonna have to, Janet's gonna be there to explain.
Right.
And if she's not, we'll have to
We
take
talked about
That
it
could be
last
important.
meeting.
That could, I'm not cutting
Didn't
back
spend
on
much
time.
time.
We expect a more comprehensive report
You
from
got
you
it,
next
you
time.
got it. We talked about it and we said it was okay and bring it to the board and you're gonna vote on it.
Anything else to come before the meeting?
No.
Entertain a
I've already
motion
been
to
in trouble
adjourn?
once.
So moved.
Second.
So,
You choose one of them, Augie, I don't care.
Doesn't bother me.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good meeting, though.
Oh, yeah.
We just had somebody
We
who
actually
which levy